Today we're checking out Casio's latest colorway, or lack of colorway, in their new GA-2110 series, the new GShock GA-2110ET-8A in all gray. And also we're going to check out the third generation of the GA-2100 stainless steel aftermarket bezel. So let's jump right in. So who doesn't know about the GA-2100? It's the thinnest GShock watch, clocking in at 11.8 millimeters thick. And it has a classic octagon shape and those beautiful analog hands. The GA-2110, however, signifies the dual molded case with a two-tone bezel. In this case, there's a gray case with a darker gray bezel. And this series comes in a pair called the Earth Color Tone series, which consists of this one plus a handsome blue watch with a light gray bezel. Very nice looking. I chose this gray one mainly because I like the positive display at the bottom, and yes, it is so much easier to read. That really makes my eyes happy. The negative display on the original 2100 is perfectly fine, but it's just a little bit hard to read, especially outdoors or in dim lighting. So of course these watches come with the carbon core guard structure. It's got 200 meters of water resistance, loomed hands, a stopwatch, a timer, alarms, hourly chime, world time, and a really nice LED light. But let's just get a closer look at that nice positive display down there. You don't even need a light to read it. Good contrast, very easy to read, so that definitely is much appreciated. So another main selling point of the GA-2100 or the GA-2110 series is, of course, these quick release bands. And yes, I tried out the bands that came along with my DWE 5600cc. So let's give those a quick look. The green circuit board watch band looks a little bit odd with this colorway, but it's still kind of cool. But as you've probably already seen around the internet, this glow-in-the-dark gray cloth band is just a perfect fit for this watch, and it complements it perfectly. So it is pretty fun to wear, and it looks really, really neat at the same time. So definitely give this series a look if you're interested. And as I said, there's two different models, but there are also a bunch of other colorways for the GA-2100 series. Just look them up online. This latest one with the darkened bezel, the two-tone bezel, is actually pretty cool. So check them out online and pick one up to feed that GShock addiction. And here is the watch on my wrist, and of course these watches always look great. They fit well, they're nice and thin, and I actually kind of like that gray color. It's a little bit subtle, yet it stands out, and of course those hands look great, and that positive display is just so much more easier to read. A pleasure to wear as always. Alright, so up next is the third generation of the GA-2100 watch band. The first generation I showed off in my Aftermarket bezel video, which is linked up above, and it's a good case, and it feels nice and fits well, but it's admittedly just a little bit chunky. So I've never actually owned the second generation version, but here are a couple photos. It has kind of a more refined case with sloping lugs, definitely a bit more streamlined than the first generation version. And this third generation just came in from AliExpress, and they give you a few screws to use. And here it is right out of the box. So this is the third generation, and you can see that it has similar sloping lugs, but the first link of that bracelet is actually more integrated into the lugs. It's definitely a pretty nice look. And of course it's got that stainless steel octagon bezel. And you can see right there that the bracelet is no longer attached right to the case of the watch. It's actually attached to the lug, so you don't have the entire weight of that bracelet kind of tugging down on the case and wearing out all that resin. So that's actually pretty nice. And it's got this nice butterfly clasp as well that fits really good on the wrist. Wraps around quite nicely. So let's quickly take apart my GA-2100 and insert it into the case and see how it looks. Alright, so let's peel off that bezel from the GA-2100. And here it is. Here's the watch case removed from the bezel. As you can see, this is the carbon core guard structure. So it's a pretty compact case, very easy to remove, and should be pretty simple to install this into the new GA-2100 stainless steel band. So why don't we go ahead and pop that bezel in there and then get some screws in and check out the final product. Alright, so there you go. There's the GA-2100 inside the 3rd generation case. And again, as you can see right here, the bracelet is attached to the lug and not attached to the case. So definitely a lot less wear and tear than the previous generations. I picked this up for about 80 bucks on AliExpress, and it's a pretty decent product. I mean, it definitely has a different feel than the 1st generation. I don't really think they polished the case or the bracelet that much. I mean, you can see that there's some nice brush finishes around the case and on the bracelet itself, so that's a nice touch. And then on the side there's also some polished edges, but you know, if you run your finger over it, you can kind of tell that, you know, there's like a certain sharpness along some of the straight edges and in between the links. I mean, it definitely doesn't have any burrs or anything like that to scratch you or poke you, but it's definitely more of a stiffer feel than the previous generations. But nonetheless, this is still a pretty handsome looking watch. You can see there's some brushed finishes on the top and on the sides, and then there's a slight mirrored finish kind of going along the bezel up top. But the butterfly clasp on this, like I said, is really nice. It feels great on the wrist. It kind of molds better to the wrist right in the right spot. And these links are actually really easy to get off as well. They're not pins, they're actually small standard screws. So with the supplied screwdriver that came with this product, you can easily remove these, and it's super easy to take them off. I think I took about 3 links off at each side to match my 6.75 inch wrist. Alright, here you go, and here's that nice butterfly clasp on the bottom, which feels solid and molds nicely to your wrist. And you can see that it fits my wrist pretty nicely. It's definitely got a nice solid feel on there. So I mean, for about 80 or 90 bucks, you really can't go wrong. You know, I admit it might not be the highest quality thing you're going to buy, but it's built nicely, it should last, it's all stainless steel, and I think it came out looking pretty good if you ask me. So if you're into this look, there are actually quite a few variants on AliExpress. This one, which is linked below in the description, actually comes in silver, black, gold rose, and gold. And there are definitely some different bezel options as well. And then if you just do a search for GA-2100 on AliExpress, you'll see there are just so many different accessories and bands, cases, and pretty much anything you can think of for the GA-2100 series. You know, obviously they're not sanctioned by Casio, and these are all aftermarket products. But just do a quick look and you can find some pretty neat stuff on there. Alright, so there you go. We've got our new GA-2110, and we've got our 3rd generation case for the GA-2100 or GA-2110 series. So a couple new interesting products to check out. So if you're into this watch lineup, definitely give it a look. So thanks for stopping by. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed what you saw, and please subscribe if you're not already. But once again, thanks for watching Casio, and we'll check you out soon with some new videos shortly. Have a good day.